點樣選主席？你做埋算啦。冇話 Dennis 好嘛 ？Dennis 你係呢個 function constituency， 你接受主席，好冇？有 OK 嚟。我同謝偉俊會多啲嘅問題。我同你多啲嘅啲嘢問題咧，我未 ready 啦。
係咁，我哋進入議程嘅第二項，好唔好啊？應該係有請先啊。議程嘅第二項，我哋有請律師會嘅代表同埋 administration 政府嘅代表，好嗎？嚟緊嘅，即係到個座位叫喺度。係 ，thank you。佢哋講有冇 paper 要講，定係就咁講自己立場？
叫佢 bring us through a paper。
邊個 paper？
解釋下，其實佢要加減嗰啲咯，譬如佢點解要加，點解要減，點解要咁樣改個條例，叫佢解釋下。即係逐條逐條咁go through。我哋通常叫佢吉標明文。
Hi, how are you? Mr. Cohen.
Good.
Thank you for coming. If members don't mind, I would like to invite Mr. Cohen from the Law Society to basically update us on the latest position regarding these rules and to give us the Law Society's latest position on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I think there needs to be some apologies here for the extensive delay in respect to this matter. And mea culpa will come from our end in respect of this, because the delay since last time we were here in 2005 has been a very, very long time. The changes since 2005 as to what we're facing today are not very large. What we have done over the time is try to modernise and update these very, very difficult rules, the accounts rules, which nobody likes. I mean, it's quite interesting. I examine accounts, and every single student and every aftermatters all say, please abolish this subject, because it is a difficult, intricate matter. The object of these rules was an attempt to codify everything under one section of the accounts rules. Previously, you had to go to Part A, to practice direction, to this direction, to that direction. So what you've now got under the accounts rules is one set of all the rules together. We took on board the comments that were made to us last time we were here in respect to the interest. But with great, great respect, the interest provisions is one great big red herring, because with regard to the current rates of interest at 0.1%, for these to have even, for example, I'll give you an example. In my firm, which is a medium-sized, largish firm in Hong Kong, 16 lawyers, we have in our client's account every month approximately 35 million to 40 million Hong Kong dollars. The interest on that, I did a bit of research before I came here with my accountant, how much interest is due on that whole amount? $55 last month, $48 the month before. If we're going to try and get more than $500 on a 4-day period, you're going to have over 6 billion Hong Kong dollars in your client's account to even get the $500 in that amount. So at the moment, with interest rates being so low, I think all of this becomes a very academic issue per se. Once interest rates ever get back to the 5%, and goodness knows when that will be, I think we're going to have to talk to the Americans about that. I don't see that happening for many, many years. Then the system we have in place now is clear, unequivocal, how it works out in respect of matters as well. The other provisions here, I think, are just very straightforward. It's definitions more than anything else. Yeah. I have to thank the DOJ, who have been very, very helpful. I mean, fortunately, we in the Law Society, my technique on drafting isn't very good. They've been very, very helpful and they've responded very, very efficiently to anything we've put to them. The problem being over these years is that nobody really gave this matter the real attention it's needed. You put accounts on the back burner. It's not, how could I say, this is not the most, pressing matter that happened. There's a change in the committees. I took over from the last chairman, Mr. Michael Linton-Smith. The Consumer Council sat on matters. The Chief Justice, when he got the previous Chief Justice, sat on matters. But I don't want to push the blame. Apologies. It shouldn't have taken that long period, full stop. So I'm delighted to go through in great detail these rules. I'm delighted to take any questions people would have to ask. I mean, those solicitors here, I'm sure, are very familiar. I used to examine them, I think, if I remember, when they were at Hong Kong University, and I still examine on this subject. So I'll be able to take up any questions on any matters as well. I hope I've given a bird's-eye view, Mr. Chairman, unless you want me to say anything further.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Cohen. 不如咁啦，我請咗律政司嘅代表去發言先，跟住我睇下委員有啲乜嘢嘅問題，咁跟住我再處理嗰個條例本身咧，好嘛？阿黃生。Is there a translation service?
Nothing's coming through to me, so it's a bit unfair.
Why don't we do this in English first?
I would prefer that if we could do that.
If that's okay. Mr. Wong, would you mind doing your representation in English?
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, just like to thank Law Society for the clarification about DOJ's role in this matter. Because
開咪。有冇咪啊？你得，你或者埋少少。Thank you。
都可以係。咁或者我用翻中文嚟表達喺呢個。
Is the translation coming through? Okay, thank you。
好多謝主席。首先我想多謝翻律師會方面係澄清翻我哋律政司嘅角色，因為的確今次嗰個一套嘅規例本身咧，其實就係由律師會個理事會本身係即係制定嘅。咁當然亦都經過即係首席法官嗰邊嘅同意。咁所以我哋喺當中其實個角色係盡量希望配合同埋支持，希望能夠做好個功夫。咁但係由於個角色問題，令到我哋睇到咧，我哋係一方面我哋會俾一啲觀察、一啲comments 有一啲即係評論，但係最後究竟成個文件點樣處理或者個草擬啊，表達背後嘅政策同埋內容咧，其實個角色都係喺律師會嗰邊嘅。咁呢度並不代表我哋係冇一個角色喺度，我哋淨係想喺呢個機會，主席係將呢個分工係能夠清晰化。咁所以如果有一啲關於闊啲嘅法律政策嘅問題，我哋都好樂意去表達意見。實際上喺手頭上我都有一個問題，就關於嗰個涉及到利息嗰個計算嗰度都想作出詢問。不過我諗可以喺稍後一個階段，當睇一啲具體嘅細節嘅時候再表達。咁但係我哋想即係重申，我哋都係喺以往嚟講，一如以往，我哋係即係盡量配合呢啲規則嘅制定，喺我哋都係喺盡早嘅時間咧作出回應。咁好開心見到Mr. Collins 佢喺今日嘅表述上高，亦都係澄清咗呢點。多謝主席。
好多謝黃生。或者我俾機會委員睇下初步有咩問題先，好冇？暫時未有。咁不如我有請法律顧問咧，幫我哋去睇一次，即係因為你可能最清楚，而家雙方而家暫時喺呢個階段有啲乜嘢係未達成共識嘅，或者你可以帶我哋行一次，好嗎？
咁我出發點啦，大家最好就拎住秘書處嗰邊準備嘅標明文本啦。LN151。咁或者可以請律師公會嗰邊咧，
等等，大家有冇 LN151呢個文件喺手？有。係啦，
咁我哋嘅標明文本咧就係左手邊咧就係現行嘅條文嚟嘅，右手邊咧就係呢次擬議加入或者修訂嘅條文。咁或者請律師公會嗰邊跟住個標明文本向委員解釋咧，就係點解譬如有咁樣嘅作出嘅修訂，點解想加，點解想改，好簡單咁介紹一次。咁我喺到適當嘅位置咧，我就會將雙方面有唔同意嘅地方咧，或者向律師會嗰邊提出嘅問題嘅。 係文件編號係 CB 4139stroke 121305。係咯，譬如喺001頁嗰度咧，擬議嘅即係第一版咧，係想加入擬議第1A 條原則嗰度嘅，或者請律師公會嗰度解釋點解要加入原則。
Yes, the reason why, the reason why we did all of this is for many reasons. First of all, we looked at other very similar legislation in other jurisdictions to help members. And the object of all of this is that if you are, let's say, in Hong Kong, as you know, you can open up practice after 2 years. So if you're a newly qualified solicitor, after 2 years, you become into partnership, you want to have something very, very clear that sets out what the rules are. So 1A is basically putting in some definitions and some principles as to the fundamentals of keeping your money separate from office money. It is very, very straightforward. It basically says that how does one run one's solicitor's accounts? To run one's solicitor's accounts, one starts with basic principles. And the basic principle is the holy grail of solicitor's accounts, thou shalt not use client's money other than for client's purposes. And you've got to have it all set up in such a way that it's clearly identified and dealt with. The reason for having all these particular definitions, and I presume you want me to go through all of this, is to basically say that in the event of trouble happening, and in the event of the occasional bad apple, and then when we got to rectify matters, we can make it clear that you know from the very beginning what you do with regards to the principles of keeping your money separate. So you can see little a through little j makes it very, very clear as to what you want to do. And and our point of view was to make sure that the members of the Law Society who have to have your bookkeeping, computer or otherwise, have these clearly set out. So that deals with 1A and the principles in respect of other matters as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very, very good way of dealing with it. Most other jurisdictions deal with it, and it makes it easy for the solicitors to know what they're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
或者律師公會可以解釋下，擬議第1A 條係現在嘅 practice directions 裏面有冇嘅咧，定係完全係新嘅咧？
reflect some existing rules. For example, in Rule 1A, small a, it refers to the solicitor practice rules.
Yep.
For example, in little j, the deliver annual accountant's report, it reflects the section 8 of the legal petitioner's ordinance.
Let me help out. I think if you remember what I said at the very beginning here, you asked me why we're doing this. As I said beforehand, you had practice rules, accounts rules, indemnity rules, all over the place. We wanted to put into one document the fundamentals of the solicitor's accounts rules. Well, let me put the question to you. What's wrong with it doing it this way?
I think that...
I'm a bit confused here because, as I said at the beginning, I don't think it... I'm saying to you, I thought we can all read, we can all think, we can all go through this very clearly, you know, solicitor must do A, B, C, D, J. All of this is fundamental. Either it was in the rules previously, either it's good common sense, and it was taken from some other matters, which I looked at the English rules, the Australian rules, and we said, oh yeah, this looks quite a good idea to put this at the very beginning, and it makes a lot of common sense for people. So you have something at the very beginning which tells a solicitor how important it is to keep your client's money separate from your office money. So unless we can be, could we be more particular as to specific areas in which you have a gripe with, and I can answer those specific areas, which makes it far more better for me to come here and try to help you out with that. These are just principles, and principles are principles. So if you have an issue with this, tell me what the issue is, and I can address each one. Don't want to sound to be difficult, but I am very, very busy at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Because there is no...
Perhaps you could do this in English. It's easier for me to hear it in English from you.
Information note has been provided to us. So in order to assist members to understand which part of the proposed rule is new and which part are from existing practice directions. We just want information coming from the policymaker as to highlight the new parts to the members for them to consider.
Okay, let me help you out with that. A, previous. B, fundamental principle summarizing. C, if I recollect, is summary, wasn't before. D, summary before. E, general summary. F, general summary. G, practice direction. K, practice direction. I, general summary. J, previous counts rules.
Thank you. It seems pretty fundamental and understandable to me. So unless members have any questions, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you.
So you want me to go through the interpretation?
No, it's okay. We'll let the legal advisor handle this.
Okay,
unless there's anything, we'll ask for your assistance.
Fine. I think that's far better and far more efficient, so I can just answer your questions as to what's...
That's the way we're going to do it.
And we did write quite a long letter, if I recollect, in respect of all of this, and saying, yeah, we do accept certain things, giving our views.
Yeah.
If we turn to page 2 of the markup version, proposed amendment to Rule 2, the first line, we see a term, a current or deposit account. It is noted that here the rendition for deposit account is 儲蓄戶口, which is the same as the rendition for savings account, also 儲蓄戶口. And inquiry has been made with the Law Society as to whether different words should be used. And I noted from the banking ordinance that the rendition for deposit account is 存款戶口, whereas the rendition for savings account is 儲蓄戶口. And would the Law Society please reconsider whether it would be consistent with the existing law to adopt different terms for deposit account and savings account.
呢啲咁樣 queries 咧有幾多個想講？
都多㗎，咁佢全部我哋 raise 咗俾佢咧，佢都。
Where's the answer to it?
Well, I've just been informed by Ms. Wong, the legal advisor, that similar nature of queries, there are about 10 to 15 of them. Now, I think it will be quite a time, not a very efficient use of time, if we are all to sit here and go through them one by one. Now, the Law Society, correct me if I'm wrong, has been provided with a list of these queries. So all we need from you, really, is...
For November, we wrote a nice letter, which I saw, trying to answer all of these. Have you seen my letter, or our letter? Yeah, and I think we've answered them all. I mean, frankly speaking, if you want to come up with a better wording, which you think is going to be, I mean, splitting hairs, you know, it's not going to get anywhere. You know, I mean, this is why this matter's being delayed. I mean, I think in the end of the day, I'm quite happy to put in it whatever's going to be easier for the normal person to understand. We're talking about, you know, the working party considers not necessary to make any change on the first one, but, you know, if you think if someone else at the DOJ or someone else thinks it will help the solicitor or the member of public, then by all means, you know, I mean, it seems to me quite an obvious matter as to what is a current or deposit or savings account. The issue is you put your money in a bank account, and that's normally a savings account because that's where you get the interest on as well. Has to be a bank in Hong Kong. So any ideas of it not being a bank in Hong Kong, it's covered later on in the rules, says it must be a bank in Hong Kong. But, you know, I mean, I'm open to any views in respect to this if it's valid. I think we answered that saying, well, we don't think it is that necessary. But, you know, if you want to change it, if it's in the best interest of the public, by all means. I don't think it is. I think the rules are clear.
Let me clarify. As the legal advisor to this subcommittee, I've already set out my observations in my letter to the Law Society. And they basically came back somehow not answering our questions or not accepting our recommendations. And there are some obvious, and there are some places where the Chinese and the English text of the proposed amendments or the proposed law have different meanings. So that's why I take the time to bring it to members' attention. And and it depends whether the Law Society will take it on. And I can see the difficulty because Mr. Collins doesn't understand Chinese. And a lot of this is on the rendition of the Chinese text and the English text.
The answer to all of this is very, very simple. Those just below me, I trust them implicitly, the DOJ. They're the experts on getting sure the translation is correct and dealt with. And I know they're very, very helpful. Perhaps they've come back with some comments saying they don't think they're too worried about it. But surely the best people to make sure there's no... I agree with you entirely. There mustn't be any difference between the translations. Yeah. And I can't, I can't deal with that myself.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Just one second. Anything from the Department of Justice on this?
Thank you, Chairman. Again, we would like to clarify our position.
Yes.
Because the Law Society Council is actually the maker of this subleg. And we've given our comments, the law drafting colleagues have passed our comments to the Law Society Council. I can further say that on, for example, the first issue relating to this definition of client, the meaning of deposit account or savings account, I note the exchange between the parties, and we believe that this is something which the Law Society could maintain their view rather than following the suggestions from the legal advisor. But I note from their response, in fact, there are a couple of places where the Law Society is prepared to amend the draft. For example, at page 4 of their letter of the 7th of November and page 5, there are two places, two items which the Law Society consider appropriate to amend the draft rules. And of course, ultimately, if members here feels that there's a need to make further changes, it's really open to members. But on my part, I think there are some issues I'd like to make it quite clear are really, within the discretion of the Law Society Council. We do not have a strong view either way. So, but if, for example, Chairman feels that the suggestions could be further considered by Law Society Council, we will be happy to provide further input to the Law Society Council so that perhaps some amicable arrangement could be reached on the technical renditions. Because, sometimes we do not feel that they must be amended, but I think it's sometimes perhaps a...
So you don't have a firm view either way on many of these amendments, can I take it?
On most of those, we feel that there's no need to change them. On specific issues, on a few of those, I can read from my colleagues' comment from the Law Drafting Division, because I come from the Legal Policy Division, looking at the broader legal policy issues. But on law drafting points, I understand that my colleagues have passed their observations on a few places where, they're open to changes, but I think it's really up to Law Society Council to make a final decision, of course, subject to the subcommittee's power of amendment.
Sure. Okay, so I understand your position quite clearly. Thank you. So in order to shorten the process, shall we just focus on the parts where there is not yet a consensus between the parties? But having taken into account what was just been said by the Department of Justice, that they don't have a firm view on most, if not all, of the issues raised.
In a sense, Chairman, perhaps to clarify that, we would say that most of those points helpfully raised by the ALA would not necessarily require amendments. There may be a few points, a couple of points actually, that would be up to Law Society to consider further, perhaps, whether to make those amendments. Unless Chairman would like me to go into details, but I think Law Society would be in a better place because they have considered it, I understand, through their working party. So they have taken into account our comments, our law drafting colleagues' comments, before responding on the 7th.
Okay, thank you. So Ms. Wong what she will do now is to just go to those few more difficult or controversial ones, if I may put it that way, and to cut short the process. Is that okay with members? Thank you. Ms. Wong.
Yes, at page 0007 of the markup version.
We're looking at the same paper. Thank you.
I wish members to look at the Chinese text, 0007. LN1 is still on 151. LN151. The rule is Rule 9 on exceptions. If you just read the proposed amendment to Rule 9, bracket 2C, small letter 1, the Chinese part, it is not readily comprehensible. May I read it out in Chinese? 已有一份事務費單或關於事務費款額的其他書面告知交付。如果呢度咧大家唔睇英文嘅話咧，就咁睇呢句咧，其實係睇唔到其實律師公會想講嘅意思嘅。
律師公會嘅李小姐，或者你幫唔幫到我哋去解答呢個問題啊？
其實咧，我哋喺封信度咧，11月7號嗰封信咧，我哋亦都答咗關於呢個 Rule 9Rule 9(2)C1 嗰個告知交付嗰個中文嘅譯法。咁我哋係 based on DOJ 嘅 advice 咧，佢都認為係唔需要改咯。
係嗱，呢度係講緊究竟講緊啲乜嘢嘢咧？係講緊係個律師將張單或者關於款額嘅一個文件交俾個客啊，定係其實你睇落去咧，其他書面告知交付，定係你叫個客講緊交付去俾錢呢？即係如果你唔睇英文咧，你係完全睇唔到個意思嘅。已將一份事務費單或關於事務費款額的其他書面告知交付，你係咪叫緊個客去俾錢呢？定係你話個律師拎住張單或者拎住一個有銀碼嘅文件去交俾個客呢？
我都明白個字面上係咪有少少問題咧？個中文嗰度，
但係個中文嗰度咧，佢有講已有一份事務費單或關於事務費款項的其他書面告知交付。咁呢個就係指嗰個事務費單。
係啦，譬如你睇書面其實係一個我哋話係形容詞嚟嘅，但係你係啦。但係你呢度用咧其他書面，好似其他文件咁樣用法咯，嚇。其他即係你其實就咁睇係睇唔明㗎。即係你可能你睇咗英文，你俾英文影響咗，但係如果你就咁第一次睇中文，唔睇英文嘅時候，或者係啦。
謝偉俊議員係。
問講嗰部分係咪已經 cross out 咗嘅？即係而家 delete 咗嗰部分嘅裏邊其中一句嚟嘅。
講緊係喺第0007頁。
92C 嗰個
唔係，係0007頁右手邊嘅1羅馬數字1同2嗰個第一嗰句啊，後面嗰句啊，已有一份事務費單或關於，你睇唔睇到啊？謝偉俊。
OK， yeah，
冇㗎，因為佢都唔會受啊！你 proposal 佢哋自己諗係啦。
係何俊仁議員係。
我好快咁諗，我就會覺得係以一個書面，我唔知係咪書面方式定係點，係交付俾個客咯。交付係嗰個係個動詞，係俾個客。
我明。
用一個書面， 或者我唔知係咪書面用一個文件去俾個客咯。其實嘅意思就係、
仲有個鐘頭。
即係 sorry， 主席係咪可以應該
謝偉俊議員
將嗰個交付擺上面，已交付一份嘅instead of saying 已有 blah blah blah， 然後告知交付，你可以話已交付一份事務費單或關於事務費。得唔得？將個That is Chinese. What is written here is not Chinese.
係。
得唔得？李小姐，你覺得謝偉俊議員嘅意見，你能唔能夠接受？律師會。
係咪話應該改做已交付一份事務費單？
Right.
或關於事務費款項的其他書面告知。
Right.
係啦，即係將個交付搬上去，已交付有一份。
呢個要慢慢翻去再諗，呢個要慢慢再翻去再諗嚇。
黃先生，
佢要
因為一方面當然我哋唔係俾法律意見，即係律師會嗰邊。但係如果譬如話今次議員提出嘅意見，我哋可以稍後如果譬如律師會覺得再同我哋攞啲我哋有啲觀察嘅話，我哋可以樂意咁做。現階段我個觀察就係、如果中文嗰度修訂，英文好明顯亦都要作出修訂，因為英文嗰度係 has been delivered。咁所以可能真係要一併再諗一諗個表述係點係最適合。因為我知道我啲同事提出嘅時候咧，其實係覺得係可以唔改動嘅。原因係點解？就係中英文對照嘅時候咧，其實個意思都係清晰。咁當然議員如果有意見係再修訂，好樂意係。
再諗
嗱咁咧大家聽咗謝偉俊議員嘅意願咧。
Is the money? It's when you're putting the money into your office account or your client's account.
But Mr. Cohen,
Mr.
Cohen, I think we're not in difference over matters of principle. Rather, it is the use of the exact wording in Chinese that is causing the problem.
Can't there be a proper I'm sure someone can translate it.
Well, I'm sure it can be done. It has, or it will be done already. But I think we've heard the comments made by the Honourable Mr. Paul Shea and the legal advisor and also the Department of Justice. Can I put the ball back to the Law Society on this particular provision?
Absolutely. I think what we can do is try to have get this all sorted out by sensible correspondence. It seems to me this should be done very, very quickly.
Yeah.
It's a mere format.
It's a mere twist of the wording. So this one you've got.
Yeah, absolutely. We have no problems with that.
Yeah. Okay, so shall we move to the next controversial?
We'll try and get wording which we're happy with.
The next one is the following one. Proposed Rule 2A on page 7. If we look at the proposed 2A, you will see that the solicitor must do A, B, C. And then if you look at small Roman 2, it says a solicitor must do this, failing which the payment should be paid in the client account not later than the 5th working day following the receipt. Can the Law Society explain why, if something is made a mandatory requirement, a solicitor must do this, and there is a failing which, and the failing which provision is followed by the word should. So is it really a mandatory requirement in the first place?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes. Well, I mean, let's look at it very clearly. What you've got here, if you've got a situation as a solicitor when an amount of money comes in, and it's, let's say, the client gives you $100,000, and of that $100,000, he said, oh, part of that is for counsel's fees. You then have the decision as to where that money goes. And as you can see, if it includes a disbursement as well as a client's money, whether it's meant to be for a bit of both, you then decide what it is, You then decide whether you can split it or whether you can do that. And if you can't, sometimes it goes into office, sometimes it goes into client. If there's any doubt, you put it into client within a period of time. The problem is, why you need that, is it may take some time. The reason why you put the 4 to 5 days are, because everyone knows as solicitors, sometimes there's uncertainty as to what exact that money consists of and what that money is for. And that's why that extra time is needed.
Thank you, Mr.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. 委員有冇問題？係何俊仁議員。
That the stipulated period of 4 to 5 days may be too short.
Well,
because the solicitor may have to sort out the relevant, say, fee notes or invoices before.
Yeah.
So,
your point's a very good point. People on the committee raised that, and in the end, because of the comments that this is so important, it means you've got to turn to it within the 4 to 5 days. Remember this, there is that saving rule whereby, you make a mistake other than clerical mistakes. So you've got to have a time period, and if you go any longer than that 4 to 5 days, working days, which is actually 4 to 5 working days is taking you into more than an actual week, actually, if you go over that. So yeah, that's not it's a point that was raised, and in the end, like committees, you find that you got the people with different views, and we thought that was the best timing. If you feel that it should be a little bit longer, I don't quarrel too much if you want to change it to the 5th to the 6th or something like that. But you wouldn't want to go... I mean, Mr. Chair, both of you are very experienced solicitors. I think one knows... The problem is this one, is the client gives you the X dollars, and you're not too sure, well, some of it is for this thing, some of it is for that. And you've had that before in practice, I'm sure, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Ho, I mean, you've had that problem many, many times. So we think that was the easiest way to work it out. In reality, this is not going to happen because everybody just puts it straight into their client's account and then sorts it out later.
Right.
And that's what happens, which you can do. You'll never, what you'll hear there, you're not in the breach if you get it into the client's account, okay?
I suppose the rationale here is if in doubt, put it in the client's account.
Correct, absolutely. And really...
the bill ready, otherwise you don't put it in the office account.
Exactly. And this idea of we put in these rules because they're there for the exceptions in respect to matters as well. So they're there because they're there, and this tidies it up in a bit. So I think...
Okay, all right.
I hope I've answered your question.
So no question on policy, then we turn to the drafting issue,
Yeah,
right?
I think we are... It's all clear now, I think, on this one, and we can move on to the next.
Excellent.
Oh, sorry. So is the legal advice suggesting that the word shall should be used instead of should?
I'm just thinking about the logic, because if something is made mandatory, then the logical consequence is there will be a sanction following. Or so you must do something, otherwise a sanction. But now what the Law Society is proposing is you must do this, failing which you should do something. So it seems to
weird.
Is it really a mandatory requirement? That's my question.
It is, because we're giving you the exceptions. What we're saying to you, you determine what it is. You then decide whether it's going to go into the client's account or not the client's account. Now, if you're not too sure, then you do this. So the fundamental mandatory is the first step is to determine what that money is for. Once you've determined what it's for, then you deal with it in accordance to the rules. So I'm not too sure whether we're getting close to splitting the hair a bit, but I don't think it's a real issue here, frankly.
Because in legislation, we usually talk about what you may do, what you must do. It's uncommon to talk about what you should do. What you should do is usually in a practice direction. So but it's a policy.
Yeah, but
matter.
the problem here is you've got anticipated disbursements, you see, and it's not crystal clear. So it gives the flexibility. You determine it. If you're not then sure what it exactly is, then you do with it. See, in practice, money comes flying in from clients. You've got a surveyor's report to do. You've got costs on account. You've got counsel's fees. Numerous things happen, and even they're going to pay your fee notes out of it as well. So if it includes a disbursement as well as client's money, so for example, we want you to pay counsel's fees and they want you to put money on account of costs. So I'm giving $100,000 of which so much is for counsel's fees and so much is on account for the future. Now, you've got a choice. of where you can do that as well. And that's how it works. And, it's really, the crucial issue is 2A. A solicitor must then do A, B, and C. Once you get to C, if that part is for a disbursement incurred but not yet paid, either pay that payment in the client's account or pay it into the office account within that certain amount. So I think it's a logical procedure that if you're a solicitor and you know how to deal with clients' monies, you're a lot better now than you were before when it really wasn't a mess what you should do with it as well. It's the nature of the beast we're talking about.
Much easier, we simply change the word should to must then. Third last...
failing which the payment must be paid into
that would solve the problem in legal
client account.
And without changing the flow of the...
Instead of failing which the payment should, we change it to failing which the payment must be paid into the client account not later than the 5th working day.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that would be consistent with the logic, and
yeah.
legal advisor will be happy with it, I hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm very
the
happy.
Law Society is happy with that.
I'm very happy to keep the legal advisor happy.
Okay, well, so everyone's happy.
Here.
2 small points.
Here we are talking about the 4th working day and the 5th working day, and I think the proper rendition should be 第4個工作日、第5個工作日。It's not 4個工作日、5個工作日。
即係中文嗰度加翻個第字。
The 4th working day, the 5th working day。
先，的第係嘛？
係。
即係中文嗰度咧就加翻的第4個工作天，的跟住後邊的第5個工作天。阿李小姐有冇問題？
先，如果唔係中英文好麻煩嘅。
冇問題。OK。
You're happy, yeah? You're happy. Good.
OK。嗱，咁即係英文同中文都 OK 啦，即係大家都能夠接受啦，係嘛？其他委員冇問題啊嘛？呢度好，咁我哋去第3個爭議點啦，好嗎
？Okay. Let's turn to page 9 of the markup version.
What are we on to now? Yeah. Obligation to keep accounts, yeah.
Yes, obligation to keep accounts. Here, we have sent a letter to the Law Society inquiring what the qualification modifies. The qualification is that are necessary for the operation of a mechanical or computerized system of bookkeeping. What that phrase modified. And then the solicitor Law Society comes back to us telling us that that phrase modifies such cards, other permanent documents, and the information stored in a computer and retrievable in a permanent and visible form. So this is the English text. But if we look at the Chinese text, it doesn't reflect what the English text said.
你講緊邊個字唔對啊？中文嗰度。
佢將機械簿記同埋電腦簿記拆咗。即係如果你睇英文咧，佢係 that are necessary for the operation of a mechanical or computerized system of bookkeeping。咁但係中文咧，佢就將機械簿記系統就拆咗落去中間，跟住又將電腦簿記系統拆咗落去，令到個中英文
唔對稱，
完全唔係嗰回事。
李小姐，你幫唔幫到手？
呢個我諗我哋要問翻。DOJ 嗰度咧個 law drafting 嗰個呢個，因為啲涉及到 technical terms。
或者黃生，
了解，即係我哋草擬科嘅同事就覺得現時嗰個表述咧係冇問題。咁但係如果譬如話法律顧問係有意見，我哋可以即係請，如果轉達咗律師會，我哋可以翻去再大家再睇下有冇啲咩可以進一步。我
能夠 睇到點解黃法律顧問係有個問題喺度嘅。咁如果可以嘅話，麻煩律政司嘅同事或者或者可唔可以俾一個好啲嘅版本我哋得唔得？
我哋可以同律師會嗰邊大家即係配合啦，應該將頭先法律顧問提出嗰個關注點嗰度。
係。另外一點咧就係 as the case may be。as the case may be 咧，通常就係有幾個情況，咁跟住你就話 as the case may be， 咁樣擺喺尾嘅。但係而家你個用法就好奇怪咧，就係擺咗喺第三嗰個，你有1、2、3嘅，你擺喺第三嗰個項之前。其實嗰個咧得一個情況嘅，咁你就話即係視乎情況，但係其實得一個情況，咁同埋其實亦都考慮翻有冇需要呢幾個字咯。即係如果冇咗呢幾個字都得嘅，其實有冇需要即係 as the case may be 咧？係啦。
即係佢一係就 hard copy，
係啦，即係佢其實而家我呢個係我 tabulate， 其實 tabulate 咗會容易睇咯。佢就擺咗喺呢度，其實通常係擺尾㗎嘛，同埋有冇需要咯？點解我會特別提到 as the case may be 咧？因為我同律師會嗰度就有個即係傾嘅過程裡面咧，佢就會講亦需視乎情況，包括乜乜。咁我就會提出咧個需即視乎情況，其實唔係需咯，個需係需當作包括shall be deemed to include， 而唔係需視乎情況咯。咁亦係。
As the case may be.
Yeah.
Would there be any difference if all these forwards are deleted?
Can we just delete as the case may be?
Now my brain is racking as to how we got all of this, and
we are all racking.
I'll tell you why. Some people aren't very good at keeping their accounts, and what they do is some firms who are sole proprietors on the back of an envelope type of accounting, and that's the reason maybe because people just do their records. They're not very good at doing it. They're just a sole proprietor. They don't get any real advice, and they create their accounts in a very vague way. So that was the answer why that was put in. But if you want to throw it out, I don't think it's going to cause me any problems. But it may cause people to be inexperienced. Of the number of law firms in Hong Kong, most 70% sole proprietors or partnerships, and they have a real problem in sometimes trying to get their accounts together. And some of them don't even do the accounts. They don't even deal with clients' money. Then all of a sudden they have clients' money. So that's why that word was put in there as well.
As the case may be, can it go to the end of Rule 10? Is it C? So we put as the case may be at the very end of the third subprovision.
And I also want to read from a guide to styles and practices issued by the Law Drafting Division of the DOJ. It says, the expression as the case may be is often used unnecessarily in legal writing. Avoid it, but if without it there can be ambiguity, consider recasting the provision. So my question is it necessary?
So, can you repeat? Because we are talking about Rule 10.5.
Sorry?
I found a case by the further up, didn't I? Let's go to the other case.
Is the case
I'm at the end may work very well for me. I think you can put it at the end, actually. It'll have the same effect. Or, as the case may be, at the very end, I'll be fine with that. It's what you do, just put that.
好。
Maybe. Or,
大家其他委員同意
I'm happy with that,
Okay.
Sorry, are we saying
Yes, Ms. Lee.
phrase as the case may be in Rule 10.5 put at the end of that sub-Rule 5, right?
Yes. Or my question is it really necessary? Because even if you need it, it is usually put at the end of the sentence. And
you have another case maybe in Rule 2. Also
and then my next question is it really necessary? given the modern trend of drafting.
But if you look at Rule 10, Sub-Rule 2, the phrase "as the case may be" is in the middle, not at the end. So that's why I think DOJ put the "as the case may be" in the middle of
Look, I mean, Mr. Cohen has already said that you're happy to put it.
I'm happy to put anything in which makes it easier and understandable, which it makes it. It does seem to be.
I think it's sufficiently clear now if it's placed at the very end.
I can put this at the very end. I don't think it makes any difference whatsoever.
I don't think we need to debate about where exactly, but at the end is fine. Mr. Wong?
Yeah.
利用呢機會都係澄清下，因為我相信嗰個稿並非 DOJ 整理嘅，因為係律師會嗰邊整理。我哋就係從一個即係整體同嗰個法律個草擬方面嗰個格式有冇出入，作為一個審核嘅標準。所以我諗，如果當話係咁樣係因為係律政司嗰邊整理，我諗我係想代表啲同事係澄清翻呢樣嘢，應該就
明白。
所以如果譬如話有方法去提升嗰個草擬，我哋係冇問題。
係，多謝你，黃先生。咁邊個？
I have.
This would work from my quick review.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cohen.
It'll work.
I have one more question on this.
Yeah.
Rule 5. Let me see. It mentioned such cards.
We're looking at
the left-hand side.
Section 10, sub-rule 5.
Yes.
In this rule, each of the expressions,
yes,
book, ledger, and record.
Yes, shall be deemed to include a loose-leaf book and such cards or other permanent documents. Such cards, usually when the cards have been raised for a second time, you use such. But here, cards is raised for the first time. So should it be changed to any or what? Such cards here is raised for the first time.
Shall be deemed to include a loose-leaf
So
book
to say such cards is,
any card so instead of such, we use any, and then we cancel. Do we use card or cards?
Cards, because it's an old-fashioned bookkeeping thing where people put these little things on the cards, and it's very, very old-fashioned, so that's why we have that.
Okay, so can we change the word such to any? So it reads any such cards or other permanent documents?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
any
thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Yep.
I'm
happy with that. Actually, we got other volumes.
Junction with the word, with the phrase, that are necessary for the operation of mechanical or computerized system of bookkeeping. Is it connected, the word such? Because if we read the whole sentence together, such cards or other permanent documents, blah, 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 and then coming to the end, that are necessary for the operation of a mechanical or computerized system of booking. So is the word such related to this phrase, this clause?
Yes.
Such cards that are necessary.
I noted that the Chinese rendition, they use 任何.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So, and because it is raised for the first time.
As long as it's clear.
All right.
Going back to proposed Rule 6A at
6A.
page 4 of the markup version.
English or Chinese?
English.
English. Page 4.
Yeah.
6A, interest on client account.
Ah, yes.
Here, inquiry have been made with the Law Society on the words used. And the words are interest earned and interest accrued. For interest earned, they use 賺取的利息. Interest accrued, they use 衍生的利息. And I was asking whether there is any difference in the term used, and they replied no. And I just wonder whether the Law Society would consider adopting a single word when there is really no difference in the meaning.
Mr. Cohen?
Translation, pass it over. I can't answer that, to be honest.
It's not only translation because
It's accrued and...
earned and accrued.
Well, yeah, well, accrued interest is interest which will accrue on the account as it builds up all the time.
Yeah.
Earned interest is a specific amount which you may get immediately. Interest earned is different from interest accrued, actually. So interest earned is the interest earned on the actual amount when you know that. The interest accrued is the rolling over basis as well. So this is why, you know, the rules, the English rules to me make a lot of sense, a lot of common sense. If you can translate it, by all means. But the accrued and earned are slightly different because you're accruing it up all the time. That's one area. So it's interest upon interest. Earned is when you get the interest as well. But again, at 0.0001% at the moment, while this is all suspended, it's academic.
Yes. If that is the case, I will liaise with the Law Society on a consistent use of the word for interest earned and interest accrued.
For the Chinese, yes,
the
fine.
Chinese.
I'm very helpful. That'll be very, very helpful.
李
Yeah.
小姐有冇補充？
Very helpful to do that as well.
I have one more
係
question.
梁美芬議員
sorry.
係。
翻嚟咧就係話嗰個中文咧係咪用衍生咧，定係係咪積累咧 accrue 唔係一定係衍生嘅喎。Yeah, we are talking about the translation. I totally agree your explanation.
衍生係咪 derives 啊
Yeah.
？interest derived。
Accrued 唔係翻譯做衍生，I don't think so。應該係累積出嚟就 accrue。
好
Right?
唔緊要，我哋
Derived, yeah, derived is the English word.
可能中文嗰度正如
你中文執一執佢
黃小姐講就應計利息啊。
我查過字典咧，A Glossary of Financial Terms 呢度係用咗大陸香港同台灣嘅用語都有比較嘅。咁佢 interest accrued 咧，佢係用應計利息。咁我亦都留意到法例裏面咧，如果 interest accrued 類似嘅情況咧，佢係用累算利息。因為
用累算就好啲，係啦，
因為我諗普通市民睇衍生其實係睇唔到 accrued 嗰個意思。
睇唔到嚇，因為我哋雷曼成日衍生工具係講緊即係講緊另外一樣嘢。
李小姐 O 唔 OK 啊？明唔明白？
我明白嚇。
明白。
咁我諗睇下一次過，我諗係Let's Go 個legal advisor 會俾翻封信我哋 set out 晒呢啲。
唔係嗱，唔需要咁複雜嘅，因為頭先我哋已經講咗，我哋同意同埋想修改啲咩。頭先委員同埋律政司嘅同事都已經講清楚㗎啦。咁我諗唔需要話又整一輪書信咁樣，因為咁樣嘥大家時間。不如咧，如果我建議能夠嘅話咧，就係我哋會後你哋大家坐低去再講一次，因為已經其實頭先得3點啫嘛。我都記得係乜嘢，所以我諗唔需要再整書信啦。應該冇咯，係咁多。
仲有一點。
仲有一點。
係。
仲有一點。
Page 4, Rule 6A, on subparagraph 3B. Here it mentions on receipt of the client's request for a certificate, and then the counsel must do something. And here I'm just asking for the time frame because it's the counsel must do something on receipt of the client's request. And here the rendition in Chinese is 在接獲後, and it talks about a time frame. It's not 在接獲時. So I'm just wondering what is the time frame? Or are you referring to a specific point of time or a period of time? Because the use of 後 is more refers to a period of time rather than a specific point of time. And I must mention that on another occasion in the same rule, when on receipt of is used, the rendition is 在接獲時.
I think the issue is the council must investigate, and it will investigate as it, in the time frame it thinks fit. I mean, it's like many issues with the Law Council. Someone says you must, on a disciplinary matter, the council must do this. It's not saying how it must do it within 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. It must investigate, and in due course, it will issue its certificate. I don't think you're going to put in time periods for the council. It must do it within so many days, so many days, so many days. It's rather like under the disciplinary proceedings. You may, if you must do A, B, and C. You do it. That's how I look at it.
Then would it be more accurate to say after receipt of? Because on seems to point to a specific point of time.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds to make a lot of sense. After receipt, it will do that. Okay.
Seems acceptable to me and members.
To me.
And
我都係問同一個問題。
okay.
因為 because I think we need to give time to the council.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
Yeah, you can't say as when as at the
Upon
the
receipt.
Yeah, upon
Okay.
receipt.
咁中文使唔使改啊？
佢中文而家已經係在接獲後㗎啦。
哦，咁 after receipt 會準啲喎。
係。
OK，咁大家同意就得。
係。係咁多，等先。
After receipt, that's fine.
151係咁多啦。
係，that's it for 151. So we move on to 152.
係152。
Again, we'll only focus on the really controversial parts.
Yes.
And for the other parts, we've heard Mr. Wong said that the DOJ doesn't have any issue with any particular bit of the proposed rules, and we'll take it that the government is happy with it. And unless the Law Society wishes to change it, we'll leave it as it is. But subject to what Ms. Wong, the legal advisor, has to say. Okay?
Yes. On page 1 of LN 152, my only inquiry is on the use of 儲蓄帳戶 for deposit account when that word is already used as the rendition for savings account. And I would ask the Law Society to consider using 存款帳戶 as in the banking ordinance.
我哋睇緊152嘅中文版嘅第2段嗰個第幾行
？Under
當事人
client
戶口
account
係啦，用儲蓄帳戶，你就話用
應該存款帳戶。
應該係存款帳戶，儲蓄同存款。儲蓄同存款帳戶有咩分別？
律師公會話存款帳戶係。
You have a normal bank account because look at it carefully. Client account means, it's a current account or deposit account. It can be any bank account you put it in. I mean, the English looks good to me. I can make no comments on the Chinese translation.
李小姐，
但係儲蓄帳戶嗰個係咪廣闊一啲咧？因為如果就用存款帳戶，好似淨係擺入去。
You explained to us in your letter that deposit account is wider than savings account, but since there are two words, deposit account and savings account, in the rules, maybe we should also use two words for the rendition. Just as in the banking ordinance, they also use two different Chinese words for deposit account and savings account. So I'm asking, maybe we should achieve consistency.
應該係存款帳戶。
存款帳戶。
我明白喎，李小姐，存款帳戶係比較闊少少喎，呢個字眼係能夠概括多唔同類型嘅帳戶喎，多個就咁儲蓄喎，因為儲蓄就淨係 saving 啫嘛。
係。呢個 High Court Ordinance 都係 deposit。
明白。即係律師會冇問題係咪？嚇可以改，委員有冇問題？好 ，OK。係啦，改中文嗰個由儲蓄帳戶改成存款帳戶，咁就比較闊少少。咁153最後。
153，先。
係，何俊賢。
I'd just like to know what is the policy stating the meaning of client account only to accounts located in a bank in Hong Kong.
The reason for that is when it comes to disciplinary matters, we've had real problems with people putting their client's account out of Hong Kong. When we come to intervene or deal with matters, you cannot get the information, nor can we get control of the bank. For example, I've been appointed intervention agent on many occasions. The real problem is getting in and getting control of the bank accounts. Could you imagine trying to get into control of bank accounts in BVIs in other countries as well, and we wouldn't have any ability to control or look after the client's monies in the event of intervention. So the main objective is to keep the bank accounts in Hong Kong to protect the public of Hong Kong. As simple as that.
So the legal consequence of this rule is that a solicitor firm shall not deposit clients' money
in any bank,
overseas account.
Correct.
So that is the
yes, absolutely. Because when we come for difficulties, when we have to intervene, as you've seen, and it's becoming quite a few recently, and I've become an intervention agent, I have enough trouble getting an order from a Hong Kong court to get control of it. So could you imagine trying to get a control of a bank account? And if in BVI, and if somebody got smart and put it in some weird place, we could get no money out of it. We could be left chasing our arms for a long time. So that's why we changed the rules for that.
Right. But there is a waiver provision in Rule 15.
Yes, there's always
How is it going to be applied?
Well, the count for waivers, like anything for waivers of rules, like for the accounts, you've got to come with a very good reason to waive. And it's up to the council to consider waiving things in respect to matters.
So it has to be dealt with on application?
On application for waivers for everything. It's quite common in all the other rules, Mr. You've seen it before in many ways.
So, in other words, the solicitor shall not deposit clients' money in an overseas account, even on client's instructions?
Yes, correct, absolutely.
Unless there is a waiver?
Unless there's a waiver, and the chance of that being given, I think won't ever be given. I can't see that happening. And that becomes, the reason why that came in is that I made sure that came in, because when I did an intervention, people lost their money, and we couldn't get the money because the account was in the middle, really in the middle of, where was it? It was Spain. You know, it was really something very stupid. And then you trying to get a control of a bank account in Spain, and the third people saying, well, why did this happen? And we're not controlling our members. So that's why.
But prior to the enactment of this rule, solicitor can do it. Can remove outside.
Yes, but there's been technically, but there's been some. We changed it. We did a practice direction out saying they can't. Correct. Yeah, before the change, there's ambiguity in respect of all of this, but we've made it very clear. I think there was a practice direction that came out saying that you can't do it. So you're in breach of the practice direction. I think a practice direction came out some time, but we need to get this into the rules to stop this happening. And this is quite an important one, which, we need to do.
Thank you.
I understand from Ms. Wong, thank you very much, Ms. Wong, that we have come to an end of the controversial issues. So there are no more. And given what the DOJ has said, that the Law Society proposed amendments to the rules are all acceptable, save for the 4 points which we've just discussed, and which you have agreed to go away and amend. Now, let me consult with the Secretary to see how we could do it, because there are some time limitations.
視乎委員會覺唔覺得有需要再開一次會，係睇翻嗰啲嘅修訂。如果係大家係覺得可以先係傳閱先嚇，咁傳閱咗之後，或者如果有委員覺得有需要係開會先至安排會議都得。咁但係因為我哋嗰個審議期咧係好問㗎啦，咁就已經係延展咗，咁係去到12月5號，咁我哋咧即係話要喺11月23號咧就要向內會係提交報告㗎啦。咁而議員提出修訂嘅預告期咧，最遲係11月28號嘅嚇。咁我哋如果係需要開會，即係話咧最好咧就係喺11月23號之前開會嚇。
主席，
係何俊賢，
即係我諗傳閱咧，一整班嘢好簡單，同埋都好技術性。
係啊。
如果大家同意咧，你傳閱，我哋大家冇問題，咁就唔好開會啦。咁
其他委員有冇意見？唔使再開會啦。咁我哋就咁傳閱啦。咁就麻煩律師會咧，係將嗰個頭先我哋同意咗改嗰啲修訂咧，就俾一俾秘書處。咁我哋就傳閱。咁如果委員冇意見咧，我哋就可以唔需要再開會啦，就可以我係咪要做個係啦向內會做一個報告就話已經係冇其他嘅意見同修訂。
Do this very, very quickly. What we've said, we've drafted the amendments just right now, so it will take, hopefully, within the next 24 hours, we can get something out. I think Angela's looking very strongly at me now, a little bit longer than that.
You just ruined her next few days.
No, I haven't, because I got overseas lawyers qualifying examination tomorrow, so I got to get this done before I have to start.
Okay, I think it's in the interest of everyone that Law Society really come up with the agreed amendments within the next few days, so that we could circulate within the members and the subcommittee, and then we'll hopefully pass it without further comments and objections. And now. Thank you, Ms. Lam.
Can I go?
Oh, Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
I've just been reminded by the Secretariat that please provide both English and Chinese versions when you give us the amendments that has been agreed on just now. Okay? Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. And also, Ms. Wong has suggested that you provide an information note explaining. But look, for future references, so that we could save some time. Instead of asking you these questions here, we would know in advance the meaning behind your suggested proposals. Thank you.
We take on board those comments. We'll do
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
其他委員有冇問題？冇。OK，散會。Thank you。